It's a really interesting phenomenon how BlackPink's individual solo work has, in many ways, overshadowed their Deadline World Tour.
The key to my destiny. But I still hold the key to my destiny.
Hold up, Blinks. Before you come for me in the comments, hear me out. I love BlackPink. I've watched them grow from their fiery debut all the way to shutting down Coachella with their iconic performances. But we need to have a real, honest conversation about this Deadline World Tour, because something feels off, and it's time someone said it out loud. The performances aren't quite hitting like they used to. The energy often feels scattered, and there's this weird aura of disconnect that's becoming increasingly hard to ignore. We're talking about everything from inconsistent stage presence among the members to questionable solo promotions that seem to overshadow group efforts, and a lack of chemistry on stage that's simply too obvious to brush aside. This isn't just tour fatigue. There's something more going on here. Hello again, Rosiere's both old and new to my channel. Let's talk about it. No sugarcoating, no blind standing, just real, raw opinions from a place of genuine care. Because if loyal fans can't be honest about what they're seeing, who will? It's a really interesting phenomenon how BlackPink's individual solo work has, in many ways, overshadowed their Deadline World Tour. While the tour itself draws massive crowds and showcases the members reunited, the collective excitement for their new group music often pales in comparison to the buzz surrounding individual releases like Rosé's APT with Bruno Mars, Lisa's Rockstar, Jisoo's Earthquake, or Jennie's Like Jennie. That's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it kind of proves just how strong each member's star power has become. But it does change the vibe of the tour. Instead of feeling like the start of a bold, new BlackPink era, it comes off more like a greatest hits concert, with some well-placed solo moments sprinkled in. And starting the Deadline Tour with only one new group track, Jump, which already got a pretty mixed reaction from fans, yeah, that didn't exactly scream new chapter. It just added to the feeling that most of the real excitement and creativity is happening when the girls are doing their own thing. I mean, think about the solo rollouts. They're treated like full-blown global events. Dramatic teasers, blockbuster-level music videos, magazine covers, TikTok challenges, the works. There's a whole machine behind those moments that builds up so much hype. But when the group comes together, it feels more like a celebration of what they've already done, not necessarily where they're heading next. It's nostalgic, polished, iconic, but maybe not as forward-moving as people expect from a group of their level. That's not to say the tour isn't doing numbers. It absolutely is. They're selling out stadiums across continents, putting on massive shows, and is somewhat trying to give fans exactly what they came for. But there's a noticeable shift in energy. The show feels like it's split into two lanes. One where BlackPink runs through their legendary yet overplayed and tired discography, and another where each member steps out and reminds everyone why she's that girl. Those solo stages, they feel like mini headlining acts inside the show. And honestly, for a lot of people, those are the moments that feel freshest. So while Deadline is visually stunning, loud and proud, a true flex of their superstar status, it also kind of underlines where the momentum's really coming from right now. The conversations, the trending hashtags, the viral clips, they're often centered around who's dropping the next solo, who's teaming up with a Western artist, or who's about to snatch another brand ambassadorship. That's where the real buzz is, not necessarily around what BlackPink is going to do next as a group. In that way, the tour ends up feeling like a really grand thank you to everything they've built so far, and a reminder of just how massive their individual brands have become. It's still a celebration, still iconic in its own right, but instead of signaling a fresh, united creative direction, it kind of plays like a beautifully choreographed pause. A moment to reflect on how far they've come, while we all wait to see which solo era is going to shake the table next. This might sound a little crazy at first, but I genuinely feel like the members seem to enjoy themselves more when performing each other's solo songs than their own group tracks. And weirdly enough, that actually makes a lot of sense when you think about how much focus has shifted towards solo work lately. The energy during those solo stages is just different. It's more relaxed, more playful, and you can tell they're hyping each other up in a way that feels real. It's almost like those moments give them the freedom to break out of the strict group formula and just have fun as individuals, while still supporting one another. It says a lot that the most refreshing, high-energy moments in a Blackpink group tour come from celebrating solo projects rather than a new group comeback. The excitement, the novelty, even the crowd reactions, those often peak during solo performances. And when the group segments roll around, as iconic as they can sometimes feel more like an obligation or a throwback rather than the main attraction. It's not a bad thing, but it does make it feel like the group dynamic has taken a backseat to their individual artistry, and the tour unintentionally reflects that shift. Oh boy, here we go again. We need to talk about the Jennie situation again, because if you've ever watched a Blackpink performance and felt a strange energy shift mid-stage, you're not alone. Jennie's stage presence, especially during the Deadline World Tour, and honestly, even back in Born Pink, has been a hot topic for all the wrong reasons. And look, it's not about nitpicking or looking for flaws. It's just glaringly obvious at times. 1 minute she's giving full superstar energy, snatching wigs with that icy stare and hitting every move like it owes her money. Then boom, she switches off like someone pulled the plug. It's not just a low-energy day here and there either. It's the yo-yo effect of her performances that throws people off. You're watching her absolutely kill it during the intro of a song, only for her to suddenly look like she's mentally clocked out and doing choreography on 0.75x speed, while everyone else is still in fast forward. And unfortunately, this inconsistency doesn't go unnoticed. Social media is full of edits showing her skipping moves or looking disinterested, and while the word lazy gets thrown around a bit too freely, the footage kind of speaks for itself. Blackpink was never known for being the most synchronized group in K-pop, and that's fine. That was never their selling point. But when you have a member who's been in the game for nearly a decade, you expect a certain level of professionalism and effort. Instead, what we get sometimes feels like a girl group version of, "I'm just here so I won't get fined." The other girls will be mid-kick, hair flipping, giving it 110%, and Jennie's in the back half committing to a two-step like it's amateur hour. The visual cohesion suffers big time when one member is clearly not matching the energy, and sadly, Jennie ends up being the main culprit. There's also been whispers about her stamina and reliance on lip syncing, even in moments when the choreography is not exactly cardio. People are side-eyeing hard when she's out of breath during minimal movement, or just straight up not singing despite barely moving. And listen, touring is rough. No one's denying that. But when you're commanding massive stages and fans are dropping serious cash expecting a show, the least you can do is give them the illusion that you want to be there. Of course, her fans will jump in like clockwork. She's tired. She's overworked. She's got health issues. Ah, yes, the classic move. When stans can't back Jennie up with facts, they just fall into the same predictable pattern. The reality is, fans aren't asking for blood, sweat, and tears every night. They just want consistency. They want to feel like one of the I-dle that had been hyped to the heavens actually wants to be on that stage. And when that energy's missing show after show, people start questioning the dedication. Jennie has all the tools to be untouchable on stage, but sometimes it feels like she's not even interested in using them. Rosé's solo moment during the Deadline World Tour, where she pointed the mic towards the crowd to sing along to 3 a.m. and was met with dead silence, ended up going viral for all the wrong reasons. And no, it wasn't just a case of an off night or a quiet audience. That moment felt like a neon sign pointing to something deeper. A disconnect between where Rosé is trying to go as a soloist and what Blackpink's overall brand has conditioned fans to expect. Blinks always rave about her voice, her tone, her emotional delivery, that fragile-sounding power she has. But when it comes to actual support for her solo work, it's been shaky at best. Whether it's from the fandom or from the label, there's this weird lack of energy behind her solo push. And the Deadline Tour ended up shining a bright, awkward spotlight on that exact issue. After literal years of anticipation, Rosé finally dropped her debut solo album Rosie under Atlantic Records. And when APT featuring Bruno Mars came out, it was huge. Like real global pop smash levels of huge. The song had everything working in its favor. A major name collab, addictive guitar riffs, a sun-drenched hook, and Rosé sounding more alive and confident than she's ever been. It was bright, playful, a little cheeky, and more importantly, it worked. APT didn't just appeal to Blinks, it pulled in casual listeners, TikTok users, people who don't even know what a light stick is. For a minute there, it felt like Rosé had finally broken through as a solo artist with her own lane. But then the momentum just dropped. Enter 3 AM, one of the B-sides from Rosie. On its own, it's not a bad track. It's got that moody, late-night pop trap vibe with some acoustic touches. But when you have something as bold and upbeat as APT on your album, it feels like slamming on the brakes. The tone shift was jarring. Fans were riding high on this fun, unexpected genre-blending energy, only to be handed a song that, frankly, felt more like background music in a breakup montage. And the rest of the album followed that same muted direction. Instead of capitalizing on the fresh momentum, Rosie swerved into what a lot of listeners jokingly, but not kindly, called the Taylor Swift reject pile, and not even the folklore kind that people romanticize. Just safe, soft, forgettable. So when the crowd didn't sing along to 3 AM, it wasn't just embarrassing. It was symbolic. It showed that despite Rosé's potential to have real pop star moments, her solo career is still stuck in this weird limbo. Not bold enough to lead a new sound, but too disconnected to ride on BlackPink's brand alone. And honestly, she deserves better than that. Instead, it drifted into sad, mid-tempo territory. Those overly safe-for-radio ballads that feel designed to please everyone but thrill no one. For fans who waited years to see Rosé finally shine solo, this emotional pop trap sound was an unexpected letdown, especially since she's more than proven she can light up energetic tracks. And it wasn't just 3 AM. Most of the B-sides struggled to make any real impact, leading some to call Rosie a one-hit wonder, riding entirely on the success of APT. That disconnect showed on tour too. When APT blasted through the speakers, the crowd went off. It was the moment. But as soon as 3 AM or the slower songs hit, the energy dipped hard. Not because the songs were awful, but because they didn't match the hype or high-octane vibe fans expected, especially at a BlackPink show. I genuinely enjoyed Rosé's album, so it's disappointing some fans call it weak, despite its cohesion. If the slower songs were more energetic, or if there were more upbeat tracks like Apartment, fans might have been more receptive. Unfortunately, despite her songwriting involvement, it feels like her team didn't fully set her up for success. From YG Entertainment's seeming neglect in Korea to Atlantic Records' stumbles on the global stage, Rosé has found herself stuck in a system that just can't seem to fully unlock her massive potential as a true global pop star. Fans know what she's capable of, but the industry hasn't quite caught up yet. In the end, Rosie became an album where APT shone like a beacon, while the rest unfortunately faded into the background. For an artist with Rosé's talent, and with the hype that built up over years, this wasn't just disappointing. It felt almost disrespectful to her artistry, and to the loyal fans who've been rooting for her all along. Sure, her second album did bring in more fans, mainly riding on the strength of APT's undeniable charm, but the B-sides kept getting mixed reviews, cementing APT as the one track many outside listeners actually remember. BlackPink's explosive debut and early tours were all about that tight-knit group vibe. You could feel the chemistry crackling both on stage and behind the scenes. Back then, the members fed off each other's energy like a well-oiled machine, smiling, interacting, moving together effortlessly. Fans didn't just fall for their talent. They fell for how naturally they clicked, making every performance buzz with electricity. Fast forward to the Deadline World Tour in 2025, and sadly, that spark seems to be flickering. Well, this was also evident in their previous world tour, which painted them in a really bad light. Reviews and fan reactions keep pointing out moments where the synchronization slips, and the group feels less like a solid unit. From mistimed dance moves to a lack of eye contact and fewer spontaneous interactions, the whole energy feels more chopped up and less connected. What used to be playful exchanges or tight choreography sometimes comes off rushed or awkward. Those perfect formations BlackPink was known for? Now you'll catch awkward gaps or last-minute fixes to keep the show going. It's not just little slip-ups. You can actually sense the magic they had together is fading. A few things are probably causing this. First, with everyone busy grinding their solo careers and juggling individual schedules, there's barely any time left to rehearse and bond as a group like they used to. Remember when they trained non-stop for years to get that tight? Now with non-stop demands, keeping that collective shine is tough. Plus, after long gaps between group activities, It's harder to recapture that seamless flow on stage. When you don't perform together regularly, the timing slips, and it all shows. Also, the way the show is set up, with so much focus on solo stages, can actually make the group moments feel squeezed and rushed. When the spotlight's split like that, there's less space for those natural interactions or smooth transitions that make the performance flow. And it's not just about the dance moves or singing. It affects the whole vibe of the concert. Fans don't just come to see 4 amazing solo artists. They want to feel that BlackPink power as one unit. When that connection wavers, it chips away at the magic and the emotional pull that keeps fans hooked. Don't get me wrong, their professionalism and star power are still off the charts. But this slipping group chemistry? It's a clear warning sign. If YG and the members want BlackPink to stay legendary, they've got to make rebuilding that tight energy and sync on stage a serious priority. At the end of the day, this shows that keeping a group iconic isn't just about raw talent or flashy solo moments. It's about real teamwork and preparation. The chemistry gaps in the Deadline tour remind us that a group's real strength comes from unity, and without it, even the biggest stars can feel out of sync. One of the most glaring issues with BlackPink's Deadline concert was the excessive lip-syncing. It wasn't just sprinkled in, it dominated some of their live performances. Song after song, it became obvious that live vocals took a backseat to polished backing tracks. And we're not talking about a few ad-libs here and there. We're talking some verses and choruses being mimed while mics stayed suspiciously quiet. All 4 members were guilty of it. Jennie and Lisa, known for their charisma, often relied on pre-recorded vocals during high-energy songs. There are moments when they don't even attempt to sing the full verse, opting instead to dance through it, shout a few words, or just rely entirely on lip-syncing, even during their solo stages. Rosé, who usually pushes through with raw emotion, was surprisingly muted sometime around. Jisoo's mic might as well have been off for half the set. It completely killed the authenticity. BlackPink has the star power, no question, but concerts are meant to be live experiences, not glorified music video replays. There shouldn't be clips circulating of one of the biggest girl groups, with nearly a decade in the industry, blatantly lip-syncing or skipping their parts altogether. At their level, that's simply unacceptable. When fans are paying top-tier prices, they're expecting more than dance routines and pretty visuals. They want to hear the real voices. If the group can't deliver that consistently, then it's time to rethink what a BlackPink concert even promises. It's getting harder and harder to confidently call BlackPink the biggest girl group in the world when the same performance issues keep resurfacing. The energy just wasn't consistent throughout the Deadline tour. Some moments felt powerful and captivating, but others looked like the group was simply going through the motions. One song would hit with intensity, and the next would feel emotionally disconnected, almost like they mentally checked out mid-set. For a while, Jennie was the one most called out for inconsistency, but this tour proved she's not alone. The other members had their off moments too, forgetting choreography, doing unsynchronized movements, or looking visibly distracted on stage. It disrupted the group's coordination and made certain performances feel messy and under-rehearsed. Lisa remained the most reliable in terms of stage presence, but she can't carry the entire show alone. When you're known as a global powerhouse, fans expect more than flashes of effort. They expect excellence. At the end of the day, fans are spending serious money to see BlackPink perform. This fandom is fiercely loyal, buying tickets even though the Deadline World Tour only has one new group song, Jump. With that kind of support, the least BlackPink can do is show up fully and stop taking their fans for granted. There's a growing feeling that the group really needs to get it together. Their reputation as the world's biggest girl group is still huge, but cracks are starting to show. The drop in energy, less engagement on stage, and fading group chemistry are becoming hard to ignore, especially for fans who've stuck around since day one. When solo careers take priority over fresh group music and tight performances, it risks damaging what made them superstars in the first place. Fans deserve that same passion and powerhouse unity they fell in love with. They're paying for a premium experience, and if the group isn't matching that, it's a valid concern. Not just tour fatigue, but a call for excellence. So, what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you connected with this perspective, then go ahead and like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell Rogieries to get more content. I'll see you guys next time, and bye!